Hi everybody, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Okay, this one is a full single story video, and honestly, it might be the most satisfying story we've ever covered. Guy's wife announces she's leaving him at his own birthday dinner. In front of 30 guests, his daughters start clapping. What he says next shuts the entire room down. But the real payoff comes weeks later. Trust me, stay for the ending. Timestamps below. Let's get into it. This comes from True Off My Chest, posted by a user we'll call Raymond. On my 51st birthday, my wife told 30 guests she was leaving me for a younger guy. My daughters cheered, so I revealed a truth that destroyed their entire world. Chapter 1. The Birthday. So, my wife stood up at my 51st birthday dinner, raised her glass in front of 30 people, and announced she was leaving me for a younger guy. My two daughters started clapping, like full-on applause, as if their mother just won some kind of bravery award at a ceremony nobody asked for. I sat there for about 5 seconds. Then I calmly pushed my plate aside, stood up, and said loud enough for the entire room to hear, "Be happy, girls, but know this, I'm not your biological father. I adopted both of you from an orphanage when you were babies, out of pity, and as of tonight, my pity is officially done." The silence that hit that room was unreal. 30 people with their mouths hanging open, forks frozen midair. My wife Monica froze with the glass still in her hand. Natalie, my oldest, went pale like her soul left her body all at once. Sophia choked out this awful cry and collapsed back into her chair like her legs just stopped working. But that wasn't even the worst part. What came in the following days made that scene look like a warm-up. Because while my wife was out there planning her shiny new life with her boyfriend, while my daughters were mentally splitting up my money between the three of them, I had spent 6 quiet months building something none of them saw coming. Something devastating. Something permanent. Let me tell you how an entire family celebrated my public humiliation at my own birthday party, and how I silently took everything from them. Every single thing. The private room at the most expensive restaurant in the city was decked out. Gold and silver balloons lining the ceiling. White flower arrangements on every table. I spent $5,000 just on the dinner alone. Lobster tails, live music, a custom menu I spent a week finalizing with the head chef. Everything built to perfection. My half-century. Not that anyone in my immediate family cared about that particular detail. I was sitting at the head of a long rectangular table surrounded by friends, business colleagues, a handful of cousins. Monica, my wife of 26 years, sat on my right. She was wearing that tight red dress I bought her the week before. $2,000. She picked it out herself and didn't blink at the price tag. She never blinked at price tags. Natalie and Sophia, my daughters, sat directly across from me. Natalie had that look she always carried. This smug air of superiority she picked up from her mother, like some kind of inherited disease. Sophia was completely glued to her phone, scrolling and giggling, occasionally looking up to check if anyone noticed she existed. Being at my birthday dinner was clearly an enormous burden for both of them. On the surface, dinner was going smoothly. People laughing, toasting, telling me happy birthday. I smiled and nodded and thanked everyone. Played the role perfectly. But deep down, I already knew exactly what was going to happen before dessert arrived. Because 6 months earlier, I had stumbled onto something that completely rewired my understanding of my marriage, my daughters, and the life I thought I had built with my own hands. Then came the toast. Monica stood up, took her glass, waited for the music to stop. Everyone turned. She smiled that smile I knew too well. The one she wore whenever she was getting exactly what she wanted. She started soft. "I want to make a special toast tonight. To my dear husband Raymond, for these 26 years together." Applause, some oohs from the older ladies. I didn't move. Then her tone shifted. "But I also want to toast to my freedom, to my new life, to the courage to choose happiness at 45. Confused murmuring everywhere. Monica didn't stop. "Raymond, thank you for everything. The house, the trips, the comfortable life. But there's something you never gave me. Passion, excitement, youth. So tonight I'm announcing that I'm leaving. I'm leaving with Diego, a 35-year-old man who truly makes me feel alive." Then Natalie stood up and started clapping. Slow at first, then faster. Sophia jumped in with a huge grin. Finally, Mom, Natalie added. Dad, no offense, but Mom has the right to be happy. You were never really present. It was always your work, your company, your meetings. 30 people sat frozen. Monica stood there looking triumphant, like she just freed herself from a cage. And I stood up, slowly, pushed my plate aside, wiped my mouth. Deep breath. It's okay, Monica. If that's what you want, go ahead. Relief washed over her face. She was expecting rage, begging. But since we're revealing truths publicly tonight, I think it's only fair the girls know something I've kept from them their whole lives. I told them all of it, that I wasn't their biological father, that I adopted them from an orphanage, that Monica told me she was infertile, and I believed her, that I raised them and paid for every private school, every European vacation, every designer bag for over 2 decades, and that my pity for all 3 of them was officially over. I grabbed my jacket, dropped a stack of cash on the table, and walked out while 30 pairs of eyes tracked me in total silence. Okay, wait. Pause for a second. I need to talk about this because Raymond is already showing you who he is. Most guys in this situation lose it. They scream, they beg, they flip the table. Raymond gave them absolutely nothing. And that's genius. Because the second you react emotionally, you become the villain in their story. He refused to give them that. He dropped the adoption truth, paid the bill, and walked out like it was a Tuesday. Ice cold. And honestly, I respect it deeply. This man had 6 months to prepare, and he executed it flawlessly. But we haven't even gotten to the real plan yet. Let's go back 6 months. Chapter 2. 6 months earlier. That restaurant scene was not a man losing control. It was the final calculated move in a plan I had been carefully building for half a year. Let me take you back to where it really started. 6 months before that birthday, on a completely random Tuesday in March, I came home early from work. Had a headache that would not quit, so I canceled my afternoon meeting. Got to the house around 3 in the afternoon. Monica was not expecting me until late that night. I opened the front door quietly, went upstairs. Halfway down the hallway toward our bedroom, I heard something that stopped me cold. Laughter, low whispers, and then Monica's voice, breathless, saying, "My husband is an idiot. He never suspects a thing." I didn't kick the door down, didn't shout. I just stood there in my own hallway, completely motionless, listening to my wife of 26 years with another man in our bed. In sheets I paid for. In a house I built by working 18-hour days for over a decade. Then came the part that really mattered. The guy asked what would happen if I found out. Monica laughed and said I was too obsessed with my company to notice anything. Then she laid out her entire plan. She was going to divorce me and take half of everything. $8 million in assets, the house, the cars. Move to Miami with this guy and live like royalty. And the real gut punch. She said our daughters were already on her side, that Natalie and Sophia couldn't stand me, always absent, always working, that they would testify against me in court if needed. Her lawyer had already confirmed it. I walked back down those stairs without making a sound, got in my car, drove to my office, sat at my desk staring at the city skyline for a very long time. And I made the most important decision of my entire life. No confrontation, no screaming, no pleading. I was going to systematically dismantle all 3 of them. Legally, financially, completely. They would not see a single thing coming. I called Garrett, my lawyer and best friend since college. Told him every word I overheard. He listened in silence, then said, "Ray, if we do this right and stay patient, none of them will know what hit them until it's way too late." Chapter 3. Building the Trap. For 6 months, I played the role of the clueless, devoted husband. Came home with a smile every night. Bought Monica gifts. Took her to nice restaurants. Told her she looked beautiful in whatever new outfit she bought with my credit card. Planned my own birthday party and made the whole thing look like a man celebrating his life surrounded by people who loved him. Nobody suspected a thing. Meanwhile, behind every smile and every "I love you too," I was building an airtight case that would leave them all with absolutely nothing. First, the money trail. I started closely monitoring our joint bank accounts and noticed Monica had been making small, careful withdrawals for months. 500 here, 800 there, 1,000 the next week. She had quietly built up $23,000 in a secret personal account, her escape fund. I documented every single withdrawal with dates, amounts, and running totals. Then I turned my attention to Natalie and Sophia. They showed me exactly who they were without any prompting. One afternoon, I overheard Natalie on the phone with a friend, saying she couldn't wait for the divorce because she was going to convince Monica to give her the inheritance money early. She wanted to open a boutique downtown. On my dime, naturally. Sophia was no better. At a family gathering, I heard her telling someone I was boring, that all I did was work, that her mother deserved someone more fun and exciting. I started recording every careless comment, every entitled remark, every ungrateful word. All of it went straight to Garrett. Now here's the detail that made everything possible. 26 years ago, when Monica and I got married, my father sat me down and told me to protect myself, made me sign a prenuptial agreement. I was just starting my import company back then. Barely had anything. But my old man was no fool. Monica signed that prenup without reading a single line. She was too wrapped up in the wedding dress and the honeymoon to Cancun to care about legal language. That prenup stated clearly that in case of divorce, due to proven infidelity, the unfaithful party waives all rights to properties, assets, and income of the innocent spouse. Every right, every claim, everything. Garrett confirmed it was rock solid, valid, notarized with witnesses. And we had video of the signing session where the notary explained each clause and Monica asked questions and confirmed she understood before putting pen to paper. No lawyer on earth was cracking that document. Then the trusts. When I adopted the girls, I set up trust funds, about $300,000 each, accumulated over 2 decades. Those trusts had clauses I personally wrote with Garrett. The key one stated the beneficiary loses all access if they demonstrate gross disrespect, extreme ingratitude, or intentional harm toward the grantor. I also restructured every asset. House transferred into my company. Cars became corporate property. Credit cards linked to business accounts. Monica thought she'd be divorcing a man with $8 million in personal assets. In reality, I had barely $200,000 declared. Everything else was locked behind legal structures Garrett spent months building. All completely legal. The birthday was my stage. I invited everyone. Friends, family, business partners, people with influence. I wanted 30 witnesses watching when Monica and the girls showed the world exactly who they were. Hold on a minute. I gotta stop here because what Raymond just did is something most people never think of. See, when you find out you're being cheated on, the natural instinct is to confront immediately. But the second you do that, you give them time to hide money, delete evidence, get their story straight. Raymond did the opposite. He smiled for 6 months and built a legal trap so tight they couldn't wiggle out of a single dollar. The prenup, the trust clauses, the asset restructuring. This is what happens when a smart, patient man decides he's done being taken advantage of. Absolutely elite level planning. Now watch the envelopes get delivered. Chapter 4, The Fallout. After the restaurant, I went straight to a hotel downtown I'd booked 3 days earlier. Suitcase pre-packed in secret. Clothes, documents, laptop. I sat by the window and watched my phone explode. Monica calling. Rejected. Natalie. Rejected. Sophia. Rejected. 20 calls in 1 hour. 0 answered. Text messages flooding in. Monica demanding I talk to her. Natalie asking if the adoption thing was real. Sophia calling me a manipulator and a liar. Every angry word they typed was another exhibit for Garrett. They were handing me ammunition and they didn't even realize it. Next morning, I gave Garrett the go-ahead. Phase 2. That afternoon, 3 certified envelopes were delivered by courier. 1 for Monica, 1 for Natalie, 1 for Sophia. Monica's contained the nuclear package. Account freeze notification for every credit card linked to my name. Every joint bank account, frozen solid. A highlighted copy of the prenuptial agreement. And a thick manila folder of photographs. Monica and Diego checking into hotels. Monica and Diego at our beach house. Monica and Diego in the gym parking lot. 50 photographs total, all dated and time-stamped. 6 months of patient, careful observation. Every time she said she was going to the gym or visiting a friend, I quietly noted the patterns and timelines. Garrett's legal team verified everything through legitimate channels. Natalie's envelope held her trust fund freeze and the gross disrespect clause. quoting her exact birthday words back to her. Sophia's was identical. Both included transcripts of their recorded conversations about spending my money. Monica called 30 minutes after receiving hers, furious, screaming. I stayed calm and told her to read the prenuptial agreement. Page 3, paragraph 5. Signed, notarized, completely enforceable. She called me a monster. I told her I was a man who spent 26 years working 18-hour days for a family that was planning to rob him the entire time. Then I hung up and turned off my phone. Over the following weeks, the desperation set in. Natalie emailed begging for her trust money. $35,000 in credit card debt, collectors calling. I deleted it without finishing. Sophia went the opposite direction. Sent messages full of insults. Called me old, bitter, pathetic, said she always hated me, that I was never a real father, that I deserved everything happening to me. I saved every single message. More evidence for Garrett. Then Sophia tried a different tactic. Sent me a video of herself crying and saying she missed me, and it was all a misunderstanding. Pure acting. Bad acting at that. I didn't reply. So she sent a follow-up threatening to go to the media and tell them I abandoned my adopted daughters, that I kicked them out, that I was a monster. I screenshot that message and sent it straight to Garrett. He replied with one word, extortion. Said it only made their case worse. Then Diego himself showed up at my doorstep. 35 muscular, tanned, black SUV parked in my driveway like he owned the place. He tried the civilized approach. Said he and Monica truly loved each other. That I was being unfair with the legal situation. I asked him point blank how much a personal trainer pulls per month. $3,000? 4? Asked him if Monica had promised him $4 million. The house, the cars. His jaw went tight. Then I pulled out my phone and showed him a photograph of him kissing a completely different woman, a blonde around 50, dated 2 weeks prior. Turns out Diego was running the same game on at least 2 other wealthy married women. Same promises. Same playbook. He left my property without saying another word. Next morning, I sent Monica the photos of Diego with the other woman. No caption, just the images. She called 5 minutes later, sobbing, screaming at Diego, then somehow blaming me for sending her the evidence. I told her calmly that the man she humiliated me for was a professional con artist. That now he knew there was no money coming, he was already moving to his next target. Hung up. A week later, Monica's lawyer Frank Delgado showed up at Garrett's office proposing a settlement. Monica would waive business claims. She just wanted the house and $500,000 to start over. I laughed. The house that existed under my corporation's name. The house where she had Diego in my bed. I told Frank to relay a message. Monica would receive nothing. Not the house, not a dollar, not an apology. She signed an agreement with clear consequences for infidelity, and now she was going to live with those consequences. Frank tried the sympathy angle. Said a judge might show compassion for 26 years of marriage. Garrett stepped in and said judges show compassion to victims, not to adults who strategically plan to rob their spouses. Frank left looking defeated. Chapter 5. The Public War. 3 weeks after the birthday, Monica went nuclear on social media. Posted an old wedding photo with a long dramatic essay about being abandoned after 26 years of sacrifice. Called it financial abuse. Called me a controlling monster who left her with nothing. The post went viral within hours. Thousands of comments calling me a monster. Some calling for a boycott of my company. Natalie and Sophia shared it and added their own versions about being thrown away after the adoption reveal. Garrett called alarmed. I told him to relax, screenshot everything. Every post, every comment, every lie. Because every word they published was more evidence for court. Monica made a critical mistake. In an interview with a local news blog, she said I never truly loved the adopted daughters and used them as props to look like a good man. That directly contradicted her original viral post, where she implied I had maliciously hidden the adoption. She was proving publicly she couldn't keep her own story straight. She even organized a small protest outside my office with the girls and about 20 women recruited from social media. Signs saying "Justice for Monica." Local news cameras showed up. Monica cried for the cameras. That same night, I made my countermove. Garrett set up a formal press conference. I stood in front of cameras in a dark gray suit, calm, composed, table of organized documents beside me. I presented the prenuptial agreement, the photographic evidence, audio recordings where Monica admitted planning to take my money after the divorce, bank statements proving she used marital funds to buy Diego gifts, a $5,000 watch, a $2,000 gold chain, $3,000 diamond earrings, all documented with receipts. I explained the adoption, the trust funds, the disrespect clauses, and why they were frozen. And the final piece, medical documentation proving Monica lied about being infertile her entire marriage. She never had fertility issues. The adoption was built on manipulation from the very beginning. By morning, every headline flipped. Public opinion turned against Monica completely. Comments on her post called her manipulative, a liar, a gold digger. Natalie and Sophia deleted every social media account they had. They couldn't handle the flood of backlash. Then Diego gave a radio interview that put the final nail in. Admitted openly that Monica approached him at the gym, told him she was wealthy and miserable, and promised a good life after the divorce. Said when he found out she wasn't getting a penny, he ended it. Said the money was absolutely part of the attraction. That she's 45, he's 35, and they were not together for eternal love. After that interview, even the women who protested outside my office turned on Monica. One of them posted online saying Monica used them, lied to their faces, and made them believe she was a victim. Monica was completely alone. No allies, no sympathy. Nobody willing to be associated with her name. Wait. Pause. Diego just went on the radio and admitted the money was part of the attraction. On the record, this man buried Monica's entire public narrative in 5 minutes, and he didn't even mean to. She organized protests, went viral, had people boycotting Raymond's company, and her own boyfriend just told the whole city she was a meal ticket. You cannot make this up. And here's what I love about Raymond through all of this. He never posted a single emotional thing online. Never went on a rant. Just showed up with documents and let the facts do the work. That is the blueprint, guys. Facts over feelings. Every time. All right, courtroom time. Chapter 6, the courtroom. The preliminary hearing was brutal for Monica's side. Her lawyer, Frank, tried to throw out the prenup, claiming it was signed under duress and Monica didn't understand the terms. Garrett destroyed that argument with the signing video where the notary walked through each clause and Monica asked questions before signing voluntarily. The judge, a sharp woman in her 60s, reviewed every piece of evidence. Denied the motion to invalidate the prenup. Denied temporary support after learning about Monica's secret $23,000 account. Kept the trusts frozen. She looked at Natalie and Sophia and told them she had children of her own, and she could not fathom a scenario where her own kids would celebrate her public humiliation after she spent a lifetime providing for them. The 6 weeks before the formal trial hit Monica's side, like a freight train. Monica got a receptionist job at a dental clinic making $1,200 a month. A woman who used to blow through $5,000 a month on clothes alone. Natalie had to sell her designer bags on resale apps and got a job folding clothes at a department store for $11 an hour. Sophia, who had literally never worked a day in her entire life, ended up waitressing at a fast food place. All three crammed into a small apartment together. Monica's $23,000 evaporated in about 3 weeks between rent on a studio, a used car that barely started, and minimum payments on old debts. Meanwhile, I closed a $3 million distribution deal in Texas and bought a penthouse with a view of the city. 2 weeks before the trial, Sophia showed up at my door at 11 at night. I looked through the security camera and barely recognized her. Wrinkled clothes, unwashed hair, dark circles that aged her 10 years. She immediately started begging. Said she was working 12-hour days. Her feet hurt constantly. People treated her like she was invisible. She said she couldn't take it anymore. I told her welcome to the real world. The world where billions of people live every single day without trust funds or designer bags. She dropped to her knees and begged. I asked her what she did at my birthday. She said she was stupid. I told her she knew exactly what she was doing. She just never believed there would be real consequences. Closed the door. Heard her crying for 5 minutes before she finally left. Natalie came to my office unannounced the next day. Got past the front desk claiming a family emergency. Walked in looking nothing like the confident woman from my birthday. No makeup, dark circles, wrinkled clothes. The pride had completely disappeared from her face. She sat down without being invited and started begging with a broken voice. Said she needed access to her trust. Had $35,000 in debt. Banks were calling. They were going to sue her. I let her talk. Then I started talking instead. I reminded her of specifics she had never once acknowledged. When she was 7 years old and got pneumonia, I slept in a hospital chair next to her bed for 2 straight weeks. Never took a single work call. Never left the room. When she was 15 and got her heart broken by some boy, I canceled a $2 million business trip to Japan and stayed home making her favorite food and watching movies with her until she felt better. Paris Design School at $60,000 a year. I paid every single cent for 4 years. $240,000 total. She graduated and never worked a day in that field because she said it was too competitive. Then I asked her one simple question. How many times in 25 years did she ever say thank you for any of that? Any of it. The answer was 0. Not a single time. She was crying silently at that point. I told her she was a 25-year-old woman who needed to learn to stand on her own feet. Something I should have taught her a long time ago instead of handing her everything on a silver platter. She stood up, said I would regret this, and walked out slamming the door behind her. The formal trial lasted 4 hours and it was not close. Garrett presented everything methodically. Photographs, recordings, bank records, the full prenup signing video. 3 witnesses from the birthday described the scene in detail. One of them said Raymond seemed calm that night. Too calm for someone being publicly humiliated. As if he had expected the whole thing to happen. Because I had. Every single moment of it. Monica took the stand crying about sacrifice and loneliness and feeling invisible in the marriage. Under questioning, she admitted I was a good provider who gave her a comfortable life and paid for everything the family ever needed. Each answer her own lawyer pulled out of her buried her a little deeper. When it was my turn, Garrett asked 3 questions. Did I love my wife during this marriage? Yes. For many years I believed it was real. Did I love my adopted daughters? Raised them as my own blood. Gave them everything I had. Did I regret my decisions after discovering the betrayal? I looked directly at Monica, not for a single second. The judge retired to deliberate and came back in 30 minutes. She told Monica she had violated her marriage agreement in the most blatant way possible. The ruling was decisive. Divorce granted. I retained all business assets, properties, vehicles, and bank accounts. Monica received 0 compensation, 0 alimony, 0 property. Trusts stayed frozen. Sophia ran out of the courtroom. Natalie sat with her eyes shut, tears rolling. Monica tried to catch me outside, begged me to reconsider, said she had to eat, had to live. I told her she had a university degree in business administration, that she was 45 years old and perfectly capable of supporting herself. Told her to get a job like the rest of the world. She said after 26 years, this is how I throw her away. I said she threw me away first, on my birthday, in front of 30 people. Got in my car and drove away while she banged on the window. That night in my new apartment, I sat by the window watching the city lights. 26 years officially done. A family that was never real had dissolved. But for the first time in decades, I felt genuine peace. Okay, hold on. I need to point something out here. The judge, a mother herself, looked at those 2 daughters and basically said she could never imagine her own kids doing what they did. That wasn't a legal ruling. That was a reality check from a woman who understood exactly how disgusting their behavior was. And Sophia going from applauding her father's humiliation to kneeling at his doorstep begging? That's what happens when entitlement meets real consequences for the first time. I have 0 sympathy. You clapped at this man's lowest moment. Now you're folding clothes for $11 an hour. Makes sense to me. Let's see what Raymond builds next. Chapter 7. Building something real. 3 months after the trial, I moved to San Diego, near the ocean. Good climate, strong business opportunities. Sold the old house for $800,000. Every cent went into my corporate account. Sold 2 of the cars, kept 1. My import company grew faster without the emotional weight dragging me down. Expanded operations into California, Arizona, and Nevada. Hired 15 new employees. Without the constant distractions of a fake marriage and the emotional drain of ungrateful people surrounding me, I could actually think clearly for the first time in years. Close deals I had been putting off. Streamlined the entire operation. I dropped weight. Started working out every morning. Ate cleaner. Slept deeper. There's something about physical exhaustion that quiets the noise in your head. The anger and resentment I carried during those 6 months of planning finally started to dissolve. I felt lighter than I had in decades. Garrett visited a month after the move, brought the final signed divorce papers. Monica signed without protest. She couldn't afford a lawyer anymore. He filled me in on the girls. Natalie had gotten a slightly better job as an administrative assistant, pulling about $2,000 a month. Sophia still waitressing, but at a nicer restaurant where the tips were better. Both sharing that small apartment. Struggling but surviving. Garrett asked if I had regrets. I told him every day that passed, I regretted it less. 25 years investing in people who never valued me. Now I was investing in myself. Weeks later, Monica's sister Carmen called out of nowhere. Told me Monica was in rough shape. Working at the dental clinic, living alone in a tiny studio, driving a used car that broke down every other week. She quit social media entirely. Then Carmen told me something I never knew. She said Monica had always been like that. Manipulative since childhood. A liar. That the whole family knew Monica married me for money, but nobody warned me because Monica threatened to cut them off. Carmen said Monica raised Natalie and Sophia to see men as tools and money as everything. Not an excuse, but context I deserved to have. I hung up and sat in silence for a long time. My entire adult life had been a calculated performance by the woman I married. 26 years with someone who never loved me. But sitting in my quiet apartment with the ocean outside the window, I didn't feel sadness. I felt something much closer to liberation. 4 months after the move, Natalie emailed me. She wasn't asking for money. She just wrote to say thank you. For adopting her when nobody else wanted her. For paying for her education. For 2 decades of providing everything while she gave nothing back. She said working 8 hours a day for near minimum wage finally showed her what my sacrifice actually looked like from the other side. A week later, Sophia sent her own email. She said Monica had been poisoning them against me since they were kids, teaching them that men existed only for providing, and that money was the only thing that mattered. Sophia said she was working on becoming a better person, not for me, for herself, because she refused to end up bitter and alone like her mother. I didn't respond to either, but I kept both. 6 months into San Diego, I met a woman named Diane, 50 years old, divorced, owned an art gallery downtown. Independent, intelligent, zero drama. Our first coffee turned into 3 hours of easy conversation. She knew my story from the news. Didn't judge me for any of it. She told me I was fair, not cruel. That cruelty would have been something physical or vindictive. What I did was use the law, contracts, and natural consequences. She asked me if I thought I went too far. I asked her what she would have done if someone she devoted 26 years to stood up in front of 30 people and announced she was leaving for a younger guy while her children applauded. She smiled and said she probably would have been far less patient than I was. I liked her honesty. She didn't try to fix me or analyze me. She just understood. Over a year later, Natalie called with news. She had been promoted to regional manager making $60,000 a year. Sophia graduated from an accounting program and started at a firm earning $40,000. They wanted to see me, not to ask for anything, just to talk. I drove 6 hours to their city. Their apartment was modest but clean. Second-hand furniture, everything in its place. They both looked completely different from the women I last saw in that courtroom. No heavy makeup, no designer anything. Simple professional clothes, clear eyes, more mature, more grounded. We sat in the living room with coffee and cookies and talked for 3 hours. They told me about their jobs, their goals, the things they were working toward. Nobody mentioned money or trusts or inheritances. They talked about who they wanted to become. Before I left, Natalie handed me an envelope. 2 small checks inside. $500 from Natalie, $300 from Sophia. They said they calculated they owed me roughly $500,000 for everything I spent on them over 25 years. Education, clothes, trips, everything. These were the first payments. I told them I would keep the checks but never cash them, as a reminder that they finally understood. On the drive home, I pulled over at a viewpoint on the coast and called Garrett. Told him to unfreeze the trust with new conditions. Released in 5 years if both demonstrated consistent employment, financial responsibility, and genuine personal growth. Otherwise, the full amount gets donated to charity. 3 months later, Diane and I got engaged. Nothing fancy. An honest conversation about building something real together. Clear prenuptial agreement protecting both sides. The wedding was small. 20 guests on the beach. Garrett served as best man. 5 years after that birthday dinner, I sat on my terrace watching the sun drop into the Pacific. 56 years old, Diane inside reading, my company doing better than ever. I had started a foundation helping young entrepreneurs get off the ground. Garrett called that morning with the news I had been waiting for. The 5-year period was up. Both Natalie and Sophia qualified. Stable employment, responsible finances, real, documented growth. I released the funds. Both called that afternoon. They weren't thanking me for the money. They were thanking me for the second chance. Natalie said she was going to invest and start her own business the right way this time. Sophia said she was funding her master's degree and building a real savings account for the first time in her life. I told both of them I was proud of who they had become. And I meant it. Monica never contacted me again after those final months. I heard through Carmen that she eventually found some stability. Better job, smaller life, quiet existence. She accepted what she built for herself. I genuinely wished her peace, even if she never earned my forgiveness. That night, sitting on that terrace watching the last light fade over the ocean, I thought about every single thing that had happened over the past 5 years. The betrayal, the applause, the planning, the courtroom, the silence, the slow, grinding rebuild on both sides. Was I cruel? No, I was fair. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do for people who betrayed you is to step completely aside and let reality teach them the lesson you never could with words alone. Monica learned, Natalie learned, Sophia learned. And I learned that my value was never determined by people who were too blind to recognize it while they had it. At 56 years old, on that terrace with the Pacific Ocean stretched out to the horizon, I was finally and completely free. And that's the story, folks. Here's my takeaway. Raymond never raised his voice once. Not at the birthday, not in court, not when his daughter was on her knees crying. He just moved in silence and let the results speak. And the best part? He didn't just destroy them and walk away. 5 years later, when his daughters proved they actually changed, he gave them a second chance. That's not revenge. That's justice with a door left open. And that door only opens if you earn it. Like the video, subscribe if you haven't, and drop a comment. What would you have done at that birthday dinner? I'll see you in the next one. Peace.